It's time for the Douglas Coleman Show. Mr. Smooth and Savvy is joined by guests from all walks of life, from the entertainment industry to authors to political and social commentators, the famous and not so famous, the controversial and the light and fluffy. We have it all. Now, here's Douglas Coleman.
Okay, please welcome to the Douglas Coleman Show, Matthew Palmer. Hi, Matthew. How are you?
I'm doing well. How are you?
Doing great. Thank you. Thank you for coming on the show. I gotta straighten something out before we get going. There is another Matt Palmer.
There is.
Okay.
Yeah, there's a lot of us.
There's a lot of you,
but there's another director named Matt Palmer. I believe he's Scottish.
Okay, I'm seeing Australian, but yeah.
Oh, there's a lot of us.
Okay, but that's not you.
My goal is to meet all of them.
Okay, yeah. but you're not.
I'm a California born and raised, and yeah, probably not me if you found others.
Okay.
There's a lot.
Well, he goes by Matt Palmer, and I see your website is Matthew Palmer Film, right? That's you?
Yeah. So. I go by Matt. You can call me Matt, but I with film and with credits, I do Matthew just to differentiate myself, however minimally, from the other ones out there. I go by Matt.
Well, it's funny because I do the same thing too. There is a famous Doug Coleman out there who is a stunt man. He worked on Lethal Weapon and a couple of other films. If you type in Doug Coleman, he comes up. So I changed when I started doing podcasting and video shows. I changed to Douglas Coleman, and
so you get it.
So I get it. And
now you just do stunts as a hobby. You just do them for fun. You're not a pro.
If you saw a picture of him and a picture of me, it's laughable. Who's the stunt man? I mean, this guy is like ripped, and it's unbelievable. And I am not. So I have the perfect radio body.
Well, stunt people come in all shapes and sizes, so.
That's true, although I've never really seen like a real fat, dumpy kind of stunt man. With the exception of if you go back like 100 years to Oliver Hardy and Laurel and Hardy. I mean, he, for a fat guy, he was good. They did all their own,
Yeah, impressive.
Yeah, he could fall down and...
Oh, yeah, just had light on his feet.
He was very light on his feet. So was Jackie Gleason. I mean, he was an amazing dancer, for a guy that was like 275. He was like Fred Astaire when he danced. It was unbelievable.
Yeah, amazing.
Anyways, so you're here to promote the film This Land, and... Now, Jim Cummings is what in this film? Because Jim was on our show, I don't know, 4 or 5 years ago.
Yeah, I saw that. Yeah, Jim Cummings, he is an executive producer on the film and has been a cheerleader along the whole journey, and has helped as kind of a mentor and giving advice along the way, and really an incredible guy who... his experience and kind of knowledge is invaluable. So he's been great to have on board, and some of his producing partners on his films like Thunder Road are also involved as executive or associate producers on This Land. So It's been a great team.
Yeah, because he was on the show when he was promoting Thunder Road. And
yeah,
I mean, this was several years ago, but I remember the conversation that we had about the letter he got from Bruce Springsteen to use the song, and it was a great story. I remember.
He's an incredible guy. Just so talented, and I loved that movie so much. And he's just really a champion for independent films too. We'd never even met. I was just a fan, and my producing partner and I reached out to him, and he hopped on the phone with us, and we told him our idea, and he looked at some of our past work and said, well, I want to be involved. And he's been with us ever since. So pretty amazing that he would do that kind of for people he's never met and people he just believed in, from the get-go, which is pretty cool. I mean, it's kind of it's rare in film, as I'm sure you know, to have like true indie things kind of even see the light of day these days, and so having his name attached,
it helps.
Has been very, very helpful.
Definitely.
Yeah, you know, we're still very indie. You know, it's still a very low budget movie and all that stuff. But you know, having his name definitely gets people interested, and it helped us kind of, I mean, and also just from a personal standpoint, it just helped having him and other knowledgeable people around that we could turn to. We could shoot a text to or call or, you know, whatever. And you know, Jim really puts his money where his mouth is, so to speak, and really like follows through when he says he's going to help independent low budget filmmakers. He does it. So
well, I think he's been there. I mean, before Thunder Road, I think he was the struggling indie filmmaker, just like you guys might be. And, you know, his film took off and he became a name, which I think was great, you know?
Exactly. Yeah. And I mean, even he's such a fan and, you know, in turn, so am I, of this like kind of democratizing the film industry. And so with his film, The Beta Test, they raised the money through kind of small scale investments on a platform called WeFunder, which, you know, really puts the process of making a film into the hands of the creators, which is, you know, oftentimes where it should be. And so we actually did the same for this land. We raised all the funds on WeFunder. You know, we had about 80 something small and scale investors, and you know, just people that believed in the vision and wanted to see us succeed and see this film get out there. And that's a really cool way to operate. You know, it's in an industry where things are becoming more and more about the big streamers and really just like tentpole movies. You know, kind of democratizing it, allowing the public, you know, people to put their, you know, cast their vote, so to speak, for a film is really nice. It's really, you know, gives people, allows small projects like this to see the light of day.
Now, on those kind of funding platforms, are you expected to give the money back, or is this people just contributing to help you out?
So it's not like there's a few like crowdsourcing things, like where, you know, Kickstarter, for example, is donations or contributions where the money is not expected to be returned. On WeFunder, it's investments. So, you know, all of the money that we make goes to paying back investors and then hopefully giving them a return on their investment.
Oh, okay. All right.
So there's no guarantees, of course, but the goal is to pay everybody back and help them hopefully make a little money too.
So on this land, are you the writer?
Yeah, I mean, it's a documentary.
It's a documentary. Okay.
Yeah, so I'm the director, and like, you know, I guess you would call me the writer in a way because I co-edited the film. So, you know, because of the nature of the project, so much of it was crafted in the editing room. That the editor Sam Zarin and I were, you know, kind of there side by side, shaping everything in front of the computer screen.
Right. Okay. So being a documentary, it's not scripted per se.
Yeah, you know, there are like a lot of times with a documentary, you'll go into the editing room with an outline, and we had something like that. You know, but this was filmed all over the country on a single day, on Election Day 2020. So it was a little bit. I couldn't, you know, I as the director, I couldn't be everywhere at once, so I kind of had to see what I would get, and then we'd go in, and the script was ever evolving. The outline was ever evolving, and so yeah, I guess I would say I'm the writer in that. You know, I kind of said this should go here, this should go here, but it was very much a different experience because of the nature of the project, and so it was a little more fluid, a little more like, I don't know, like jazz than it was playing something that's been written down.
All right, well, that's a good analogy. So what is the film, what is the message here? Is there a point, or is it just an observation kind of film?
You know, yeah, that's a good question. It's so I would say it's observational in that our goal was never to pick a side or, you know, kind of fan the flames of division, or on the flip side, it wasn't to even bridge the gap, you know, the divide. That wasn't our goal either. Really, our goal was much more simple than that. Was, like you said, first to observe second, to show that everyday people in America are often more nuanced and fragile and sensitive than they might be portrayed in the media or even by politicians themselves. That on a day that is, very divisive, ostensibly, Election Day, especially Election Day 2020, where the media had been covering it for years, and a lot of people were, there's a lot of vitriolic language, a lot of yelling, a lot of that kind of stuff. Our goal was to say, well, actually, I don't think it is that black and white. Of course, there's no room for hate, like extreme, for violence or for extremes, but I actually think more people live in the gray area than in those extremes. And so it was really, to show that, and to show that whatever side of the aisle you're on, you also have, concerns that might cross the aisle, or you might have contradictions, or you might have something in common with, someone who disagrees with you. It just simply in that you're doing the best you can for yourself and for your family. And I think that idea that things aren't rigid, that things aren't, that the media machine kind of says we're all just walking votes or poll numbers or polling data. And really we're humans, and things are a little more complicated than that. And, I get, I think in these politically ideological times that it's easier probably, and probably maybe even more important to pick a side and to fight for that side. I think my goal was to not do that, and to observe and to hopefully expand people's worldview a little bit, see who their neighbors are, and then that can lead to their own kind of decision making, their own plan of action. I think I hadn't seen that before, so I think I I was interested in exploring that idea.
Well, I think that's great that you're doing that, because unfortunately the major news networks and the mainstream media have chosen sides, and they're very apparent as to which side that they're on. So, they have pushed the blue or red button accordingly. Yeah. And I think a lot of Americans have not. And those are the ones that are not represented on the mainstream media. They're just not. You get the radical left shown all the time. You get the radical right shown all the time. But the middle people, the middle ground people, they're not represented in the media at all. And so I'm happy that you're doing this kind of work with this film.
Yeah, and in a way, I think I get why they do that. It's not as sexy, it's not as clickbaity,
it's not
the extremes.
Right,
the extremes are what get clicks. But I think my argument would be that there's actually more beauty and more humanity in the less sexy moments, in the everyday. I don't want to say in the mundane, because I think we capture very interesting moments, but I think it's more day-to-day life has value, and for whoever you are, and your value might be you might value just what's under your roof, or you might value what's on your block, but you are things are just simpler when you look at them as when you're not looking at them far left, far right, and that's what I think is I think there's beauty there. Sorry, that was kind of rambling.
No, that's all right.
I was agreeing with you.
Well, it's about money. It's about profit. And I mean, that's what's unfortunate about the way they skew the news. If you take a story of a mass shooting and you take a story of a bunch of nice puppies being born in a field somewhere, which story are they going to run with, right? Pretty obvious. Because a mass shooting gets people all worked up. Puppies, as lovely as that is, and people go, oh, there's no ratings for that. There's no money for that. And that's too bad. That's a statement on our society, not just the media. The media are only puppets of what people click on, like you said.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think if people were, honest and took a look at the stuff that they do consume and the stuff that they do value, those two things might be at odds. If they consume just those clickbait, Donald Trump said what, that kind of thing.
Right.
That might be what they're taking in, and that affects you, right? So then it starts to shift your values. It starts to shift what you say. Where before clicking all that stuff, before being inundated with that kind of information, you might have had your values might have been maybe a little more in the middle, or forget politics altogether. Might have been, oh well, I want to take care of my family. I want to be nice to everybody. I want to be, those kind of values. And slowly, I think the damage is being done when we're inundated with extremes. I think we're products of our environment, right? And so if our environment with social media and with the internet and with nonstop news coverage, our environment kind of becomes bigger, which in a lot of ways is great, but it also can't help but affect us and change the way we start to view our surroundings and interact with other people.
Oh, exactly true. And if you take this whole idea out of this country, our adversaries are watching. And they are going to exploit this division for their own purpose. It's the old line of divide and conquer, right? That's centuries old, but it's a concept that works and has worked throughout history. So you better believe that everyone else is watching what's going on in the United States. And they're just, they're kind of looking for their opportunity. So in a sense, it's like our media is our own worst enemy.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I mean, I think that's where, there's obviously it's important to get news and to know what's going on around you. But I also think, my goal at the very least, hopefully people see value in a project like This Land because it can give you a different perspective. It can also, it can everything informs what you think and how you act and what you do. And hopefully something like this, can help things from getting too extreme on one side or the other. It can help you again see your neighbors, see people different from you or with different ideologies as human beings.
Yeah,
as people worthy of compassion and sympathy and at the very least worthy of observation, right? Worthy of understanding. And I think I hope that people, see the value in that because I certainly, that's what prompted the whole project. So,
well, it would be nice for, more people to listen to the other side rather than just be damned to kill them. And, that's the quickest way to war is non-compromise. Let me ask you something about you, just real quick, so people get an idea of who you are. Have you done other films, or is this your first big project, or what have you done to this point in your life?
Yeah. I'm primarily a commercial and branded content director. So things that you'd see if you still watch live TV, you'd see at the commercial breaks, or things like when you're watching YouTube and click skip ad. The thing that you're skipping. So I'm very fortunate to get paid to direct. It's a dream come true. But that is, so that's a lot of what I do. I have done a few short films that you can find on my website or on, Vimeo or some other platforms, The Atlantic, a few of those. And then this is my first feature-length project. So hopefully not my last, but it was definitely a new experience for me in so many ways. So
well, great. Well, I think on that we're going to wind this down, Matt. Thanks so much for coming on. Give out your website, please.
Yeah, my website's MatthewPalmerFilm.com, and then we have a website for the film as well. It is thislandfilm.com with a dash between each of those words, and the film's available on pretty much all streaming platforms for rent or purchase. It's also available on demand. And then we're on Instagram as well, which is thisland.film. So. Okay,
great. Well, thanks so much for coming on. It was nice meeting you. Nice talking to you. Best of luck with the film. I hope it does well. And I think it's a great message that you're putting out there. So I'm happy for that.
Thank you. Thanks a lot. Thanks for having me.